I, 32 female, have been put in a really difficult position. I'm not sure whether I'm doing the right thing. I have a feeling that no matter what I do, I will be wrong in the eyes of a lot of people around me. I have to make sure that I'm making the right decision and that it's not just a selfish decision because of my own feelings. I should probably explain a couple things. Well, I'm happily married to James, and we have 2 beautiful children, Sally and Caleb. We have a lovely home and we both have good jobs, so we are financially in a good spot. We're not rich by any means, but we are comfortable and that's all you can ask for, right? We can afford to give our children most things they want and pay for our after-school stuff such as sports, dancing lessons, and piano. It's very different from the life my husband and I grew up having, and we were both determined that our kids would have the best life possible. Well, the best that we could give them. I'm a firm believer that it's the parent's choice to bring a child into the world. The parent should be a loving, protective figure in the child's life even once they reach adulthood. Well, this story is rooted in my past and my relationship with my family, and so I guess we will need to go back to where we began. When I was born, my mother was still in a relationship with my father, and things were not too bad. She was never the most caring mother, but she did look after me and then my 2 younger brothers, Jason and Freddie, when they were born. However, my father passed away when I was 12, and things changed dramatically. My mother became like a new person to me. She was never at home. She lost one job after another because she just never showed up. Or, when she did, she was so hungover she could not work. She had started to go out to bars and clubs a lot, and we were left home alone a lot. I was only a child, and my younger brothers were only 8 and 5 years old at the time. My mom finally got a job. She seemed to be able to stick it out. Although her family did not approve, as it was a hostess bar, where she served rich men who came to get away from their wives and family. That was where she met Carl, 60 years old, and finally gave up on being our mother completely. At first, she would stay up all night and only come home to change her clothes and check if we were still alive. She would throw some money at me, tell me to feed the boys, and go back out to work. Or should I say meet Carl. The money she left was a decent amount, as Carl was wealthy and gave my mom anything she wanted, so at least we were fed. I began to struggle with school as I was so tired from looking after my brothers, and the teachers, well, they began to notice something was off. I'm not sure when I realized that my mom had gone to work, and this time was not coming back. It was perfectly normal for her to disappear for 2 or 3 days at a time, but after a week I began to suspect she was not coming back this time. I was 15 years old and left in a house with 2 younger kids, and who I basically been acting as a mother to for the past 3 years. I was scared, exhausted, and determined that we would not be separated once it became clear that we had been abandoned. That was the hard part, as finally I had to tell one of my teachers that my mom had gone. My teacher was an amazing woman, and we are still connected to this day. I owe her so much. I've not named her here as she's still teaching and would not want to make this public, as she was very private in her own help. My teacher reported my mother missing, so the police would look for her. I knew where she was, so I told the police about the hostess club that she worked at and all about Carl. All I knew about him was a name, but I assumed the police would be able to find him. They did. They also found his wife and 3 children, which I'm sure Carl did not want to happen. That is, however, the chance you take when you have a mistress by your side, huh? The police found my mother, and she told me that she had a new life and would not be coming back home, and they should just do whatever with us. Carl's wife kicked him out, and he decided that he would cut his losses and take up with my mom, who, by the way, he married a year later. I saw the announcement in the paper. Well, there was no mention that the bride had any children, and I think to her, we were pretty much dead. As I was underage, there was a serious chance that we would be separated and taken into foster care. I mean, I do have an uncle. He's 56, his name is Clark. But he said right away he did not want to be, quote, lumbered with a bunch of brats. And so our future looked bleak. I was 15 and it was only a few months until I would be 16, and again, my wonderful teacher came to my rescue. We went to court and she agreed to act as a foster care until I aged out. We were as lucky as the house we lived in was owned by my father and he left it in his will to his kids, not his wife. Maybe he knew something that we did not. Anyways, at 16 years of age, I dropped out of school and got a job. I was able to finish my education once Freddie was old enough to see to himself, and from there, I got my degree in dentistry, and I met my husband. My childhood was tough, but we made it. Jason, he's happily married to a wonderful woman, and Freddie is living abroad. All of us. Freddie was the only one who ever talked about Mom and said he wanted to see her. But Jason and I, we never wanted to see that woman again. In fact, I call her by her name, Pam, when talking about her as she's no mother to me. Life was going so well until Pam decides to reappear, totally out of the blue, and I got a letter in the post asking me to meet her. Clark knew where I live, and he had passed on my address to Pam, which annoyed me, as he should have discussed it with me. She had included her address in an upper-class area and a phone number to contact her. I was thrown and just did not know what to do. My instinct was to throw the letter in the garbage, but I called Jason and Freddie to let them know. And, well, Jason agreed with me. But Freddie said that we should, hear what she has to say. He said he would fly into town and we could all go to support each other, and I finally agreed. And I sent a text to Pam. It had a time and a place, but made it clear that I was only doing this for Freddie. On the day, it was awkward and she had not changed at all. She had a lot of plastic surgery done and was trying to stay young, but she looked weird in my opinion. She gushed on about her life, her husband, and the child they had together. I sat and listened as Freddie did all the talking. He seemed so happy. In the end, she asked if she could see my children, her grandchildren. Well, I was astounded that she had the nerve to ask that after being out of my life for so darn long, and after everything she's done. I said, let me tell you something. There's no way in hell that's happening, and that I had to agree to meet her for Freddie. But, just so she knows, we are done. And she's not to contact me again. Jason agreed that she would never see his children and we left, although Freddie stayed behind to chat. When I got home, I'm not gonna lie, I was so upset. I told my husband what happened, and although he agreed completely, he thinks maybe I was a bit harsh. So the question I have for you guys, am I the a-hole for telling my estranged mother that hell will freeze over before she ever sees my kids? What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. There's a few updates to hop into, and man, today's story started off heavy. If you're new to the channel and you want daily videos, make sure you smash that subscribe button, and let's jump into update number 1. Wow. This blew up in a way I did not expect, and it appears that people are very opinionated about this one, huh? Both in favor and against my mom seeing the kids. The ones who sent me messages or left comments in favor of me allowing my mother to see her grandkids all seem to think that everyone should be able to get a second chance to show that they've changed. Guys, you can hold your opinion because she will never change. She's had the opportunity before now to contact us, and after she left, she did not even show up to the court hearing to say she regretted what she did. She abandoned us and left us to fend for ourselves. If it had not been for the kindness of my teacher and my willingness to put my own education on standby until my brothers were older, we would have been split up, put into a social care system, and who knows where we would have ended up. I can never forgive her. And to be frank with you, I don't want to give her a chance to get to know my children just so she can up and disappear again and hurt them as she hurt us. You cannot mess with people's feelings like this. Anyways, things have changed quite a bit since my first posting, and it appears that Pam, yeah, that's right, I still can't bring myself to call her Mom, has decided to take matters into her own hands. As I was very clear that there's no way on earth that I would allow her to my family, she has decided to use the money that she has now to take me to court and sue me for grandparental right. Wow. She's also using the same against Jason so that she can get to his kids too, and he has also told her there's no way in hell that he's ever going to allow her to see them. When the court papers arrived on my doorstep, I felt as though the whole world had been absolutely ripped out from under me. Well, it was a bad dream. I tried to call Freddie to see if, she had discussed this when he had left, but has not been answering his phone at all. I have a horrible feeling that he may have got dragged back into Pam's life, as he always was the one who wanted to see her. He was so young when she left that his memory of her is just clouded, and he only remembers the good stuff. I remember him saying once when he had been drinking that he does not understand why Jason and I hate her so much, as she always brought us money, gifts, and made sure we had food. Now, I'm a parent, and it's clearer than ever that parenting requires so much more than throwing money at your kids. Kids need love and security. Jason and I met and discussed what we were going to do about this. I wanted to ignore it, but Jason was the most rational and said that it had gone too far, and we could not ignore this. She was obviously prepared to take this all the way to court, and there's a chance we could literally lose and have to let our kids into her life. I'm not letting that happen, I'll tell you right now. The main problem we knew we would have was our ability to fight her for a long time. Because, Pam, she had a rich husband behind her, and she could afford to have really good lawyers, and they could drag this out until Jason and I ran out of money and had to give in to her. I think that was her plan all along, to be honest. For all her faults, Pam was clever when it came to getting her way. I'm pretty sure if the police had not been called when she abandoned us, and her husband's wife found about her, she would have found a way to let his wife know somehow. Jason and I had full support of our spouses, but there were already rifts beginning to show in the people around us. Even some of my close friends had said after the initial meeting that I should have been more willing to listen to what Pam had to say. They also thought I was being totally disrespectful by calling her Pam. The first person I went to after I received the papers from Pam's lawyer was my old teacher, who, by the way, I mentioned I was still close to. And she has been a rock, keeping me steady in the storm. Just like she was in my teenage years, she's there for me. I'm not really bothered by what people I'm not close to think about this, as it's my life, not theirs. But it does hurt when people close to me are negative. The worst is my best friend Jessica, who has been so vocal about how I'm being unreasonable, and I do not understand why she's being like that. She's been my friend for years, and I did not expect her to take Pam's side in this. I'm trying not to let it get to me, but hey, it hurts. Following our meeting, Jason and I decided we will fight this for as long as it takes. We need to let Pam know what she just can't walk back into our life and demand to see children she's never met. She's never shown one ounce of remorse for abandoning us or causing so much pain in our lives. Yeah, this is going to be hard, but we will not back down to her. Update number 2. So much has happened, and when I read the update I did after we received the papers, I feel like such a naive idiot. I was so full of myself saying we would fight this to the end and we would never give in, blah blah blah. As if it would be that easy. Jason and I found a lawyer who was prepared to represent us both together, as it would be cheaper than us having a lawyer or each other. And we were fighting the same battle, so you know what, it made sense. I was shocked at the cost of things, though. I mean, yeah, I knew lawyers were expensive, but dear Lord, it's so dang expensive. If we can't work this out, we need to fight a long battle. It might bankrupt us, both of us. James has been amazing and told me money doesn't matter and that I need to do what's right, but it scares me that I'm risking our financial future on this just to prove a point that Pam cannot just get her own way. The second upset for us is that we've been betrayed by 2 people close to us. Freddie finally returned my phone call and said that he was not prepared to give any statements against Pam, who he does call Mom, as she had explained everything to him. And she had no choice but to leave us when she did. Pam told him she was trying to make a better life for us, but I refused to hand over my siblings. I was 15 years old, as if I had a choice in the matter. He's fallen for her lies completely. He desperately wanted her in his life, so he's prepared to swallow her lies to get it. Then there's Jessica, my best friend, who has betrayed me again, and there was a reason she wanted me to give Pam a chance. It appears that Jessica had always liked Freddie, and she used the conflict to get close to him, and now they're dating. Jessica's 6 years older, and which is obviously fine as they're both adults, but I had no idea that she had feelings for my little brother. I feel betrayed by both Freddie and Jessica. I'm trying not to be bitter, but I'm wondering how much knowledge that Pam is extremely rich played in Jessica's decision to make her move on with Freddie. Wow, she always did like the finer things in life. Jason and I had to write statements about our childhood and the reasons that we do not want Pam to be in our children's lives. And to be fair, the solicitor has said that our reasons are extremely good. My old teachers have agreed to give a statement as well, which is amazing, as I had said to her if she wanted to stay out of this drama, I would totally understand. She smiled and said I was like a daughter to her, so she had no kids of her own, and she would make sure that I had the best support I could get. I'm just so grateful. We filled in the initial paperwork, and now the back and forth negotiation is underway. I have to say our lawyer is very good, and he's not backing down under the pressure from Pam's extremely expensive lawyers. Yeah, she has a full-on team. Jason and I get copies of all the paperwork, statements, the letters that Pam has done for the case, and they are like a fairy tale. It is though I lived in a different life from her, as her version is all rose-tinted and a story of a mother who did her best for her kids. She seems to have missed the part where she was out every night drinking, picking up men, and finally, the icing on the cake, abandoning us for a rich jerk. She's even brought her new son into it, Jasper, he's 13, saying that she was an amazing mother in his words, which obviously was her words, and that she just wanted to be an amazing grandmother as well. I have to give our lawyer a bit of credit, as he did add to his reply to that statement that she had never once said she wanted to be a good mom to the children she left behind. I think even a seasoned lawyer is shocked at our blatant Pam. She's just painting herself out to be a victim in all this. One of the questions I had a lot from, well, all my other posts, which I had not addressed as I was not sure about it myself, as did my children know that their grandmother was trying to get into their lives. I was torn apart by what to do as they're still really young. Jason's children are a bit older as he married young and he made the decision to tell them, so I had to decide as they got very close to their older cousins. Luckily, we were extremely close to James' parents and they have helped us out a lot. They know all about Pam and my past and they've always loved me as a daughter. They dote on their grandchildren and they're great babysitters when I have to go to the lawyer and have offered to have them once their court case starts, because I know deep down it'll come to that. Work has also been amazing and let me have time off when needed. My boss has no relationship with their mother either and totally gets it. I told Sally and Caleb a watered-down version of things as there's no need for them to know the whole story until they're a bit older. They know that their other grandmother wants to see them, but she's not someone who has ever been involved, and so Mommy and Uncle Jason are making sure that, quote, other grandmother does not upset anyone. They seem to buy that for now and went back to playing, so unless we lose the battle, it's all fine for now. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't shake the feeling that she's going to win as she's no good at playing the victim. And if we have to go to court, we could very well lose this. Our lawyer told us that although he has no intention of giving in on the fight, we could do, well, a backup plan in case we lose. And we can offer some form of contact and hopeful it lessens the damage Pam can do. He suggested that should Pam win, we say that we will only allow contact with our children if we are present. And it has to be in a controlled environment such as a play center at a park. That way, Pam is never alone with them, and we can control where she is able to tell our children and whatnot. He also suggested that although we may not want to, we should consider adding Freddie and Jessica to the people we do not want to be alone with the children, because Well, if they are supporting Pam, they could influence the children with stories about how great Grandma is. I hated the idea. But I agree, it is killing me inside that my brother and best friend have betrayed me. The letters are getting us nowhere, so I'm waiting for the court case to get started. I don't think I'll be here again, as it hurts even writing this update. Well, I guess I might update you when it's all said and done, but I don't know how I will feel. Update number 3. This is the final post. I was not going to come back, and there was a part of me that thought I would only come back if things went the way I wanted, but I decided when the court case began that no matter what, I would come here and do an update. I was talking to James one evening before the court session, and he said that I should for 2 reasons. Firstly, it was therapeutic for me to scream and shout in the void of the interwebs, and secondly, there were bound to be others out there who could relate. Maybe something would help them, or at least let them know they are not alone in this nightmare. So, where to start? I could write a dissertation on the drama that was the court case. Pam tried to demand that we brought the kids to court with us so she would at least have a chance to, quote, see her precious grandbabies before her ungrateful children took them away. That's not happening. And the judge agreed that young children have no place in the court. Jason's oldest did actually come, but they're 15 and it was their decision to be there. After the first day, he said there's no way he wanted anything to do with that woman, which struck me as funny as he's so young but saw right through all the tears and lies. Freddie and Jessica were also there to support Pam, and I could not even make eye contact with them. She'd also brought her husband and her son, who looked embarrassed and horrified the whole time. I felt so sorry for him and smiled at him a few times. None of this is his fault, and he is my half-brother after all. It was a long day, and I heard that family issues are usually dealt with one session. But the judge had not bargained on Pam and her dramatics. She had her chance to give a statement, and I wish it was recorded as she sat and wiped her eyes with a laced handkerchief, like a damsel in distress. I'm pretty sure there was no tears. I'm not even sure she can cry with all that dang plastic surgery. We sat, listened to her, and it was a lie, after a lie, after a lie. I actually turned to Freddie and started at him, and she talked wondering how he could sit there and not be disgusted. He would not even look at me. The reason why came out later is that I don't want to get things out of order. After Pam had finished, she looked really pleased with herself, but now it was our turn and we left nothing out. Every detail, every day we had no food. Every time we were left alone for days at end, and the pain we had when we realized that she had gone and was never coming back. Then, my old teacher did her part, and by God did she lay into Pam. She told the judge how hard my life had been and what a terrible mother Pam was, and at this point that one-day hearing became a longer one. Pam was obviously not liking what she was hearing, so she swooned. Not a gentle faint to the floor, but a full-on, hand to the forehead swoon, in a way that was not fake, it was laughable. The judge looked perplexed, but they had to call the medics and she was taken to the hospital for a checkup. She even managed to swindle an overnight stay, which is possible when you can pay for things. Yeah, it was pathetic. So, that's the drama that was in our day of court. We were called back 4 days later as Pam really played on the whole fainting thing. As a side note, if you ever want to get a medical professional to say you're traumatized and made ill, but your family just finds out who you can pay to lie, because that is what Pam did. I know because the judge got a second opinion, as I think he was worried about the legality of calling her out on faking it. Pam came back to court after her trauma, leaning on her husband's arm, who actually had the grace to look ashamed. A lot more statements were given by medics and professionals, and I won't bore you. They basically said Pam was unstable, but in a politer word. The judge sided with us and said that it was not in the best interest if our children are allowed to see Pam, as she had shown her behavior in court that she's irrational, possibly even need a therapy. My lawyer said he was shocked that a judge said that, as usually they try to stay neutral. But he had heard the judge was mad that Pam had turned his courtroom into a circus with the fainting act. It was not the way to get support from a judge. I did not care what he said. We had won, and that was it. My kids were safe from Pam, and we were granted a protection order to keep her away. Well, I tell you this now because all this was months ago. It's taken me a long time to sort my head around the fallout of things that happened later. Pam lost more than her grandkids. Her husband decided that he was ready for a, quote, new model, and moved in with his mistress who, well, he had met at his club. So history repeats itself, right? The new wife-to-be is only a few years older than his son, which is so freaking disgusting. Pam also showed that she had not changed at all. She had moved out to be with one of her husband's other properties with her son. Jasper, as his dad's new mistress, did not want her stepson in the house. One morning, Pam was gone. She packed up in the night and left, leaving Jasper behind. His dad refused to take him into the house, and Jasper was in the position that I had been all those years ago. So, I've done what my old teacher did for me. Jasper, he's now with us. And Sally and Caleb love to have their Uncle Jasper living with us. They were a bit confused that he was so young, but we managed to explain what happened. Some people were shocked that we took him in, but he's my brother, just like Jason and Freddie. And of all people, I'm very aware of how it feels to be abandoned by Pam. Since he moved in, Jasper has opened up about his life, and it's no better than mine. He may have, well, been surrounded by money, but he was never wanted by either parent. It's sad that people just never change, and they just continue to hurt people again and again and again. Freddie and I are slowly rebuilding our relationship, as he has now seen that he fell for the fairy tale Pam was selling him. He had been so sure he would finally have a mother that he was prepared to shout out the voices in his head that told him she was lying to him. It did not help that Jessica was telling him that he should listen. Jessica only had her eyes on the potential money that would come with being the son of someone who was wealthy. Pam was never wealthy, her husband was. And although when her husband paid her off to leave, it was not the same amount she was used to when she was married to him. When she left and abandoned Freddie again, Jessica did the same. She dumped him as soon as it was clear Pam was gone for good. We've heard nothing from her, and I'm starting the procedure to be Jasper's legal guardian, as my teacher did oh so long ago. It's like life has come full circle. Pam, well, I guess she'll never change, and I really do hope that she's miserable as hell wherever she is. That money will run out sooner than she thinks, and by the way, we are getting a lawyer to get support for Jasper from his father, as I won't let him just abandon his son with no financial support, even if he has no physical relationship with him. So there it is. Would you consider this a happy ending? I'm not sure, because too many people got hurt along the way, but it is an ending, and sometimes that's all you can hope for.